This video we're just going to run through one of the simulations, which will be simulation number 4, basic event identification. So we'll just start that running. We'll just turn the sound effects off for the video. So we'll get a lot of these message boxes popping up telling us what to do, so we're just being told to drill ahead and continue monitoring the well. So we'll go ahead and do that, start drilling ahead. So this simulation is just about monitoring the parameters and taking action if you see anything, and taking the correct action, and the simulator will be able to tell what you've done and if you've done it in a correct manner. So we can see here that both chokes are open 100%. We've got 120 psi back pressure just going through the system on open chokes. Mud pump 1 is running, and the aux pump is also running. So everything's looking stable at the minute. We've got surface back pressure here and flow in versus flow out here. So you can see there we just got a radio message through from the geologist about a change in the cutting, so we'll just OK that and carry on. This simulator is really designed to be used on 2 screens, so you can put this screen onto the second screen and then you can monitor all the graphs on here. For the purpose of this simulation, we'll just use the front screen and we'll use our graphs here. Some of these simulations are a bit long-winded, but in reality people are watching these screens for 12 hours a day, so it's a bit based around teaching new people that they are going to be expected to look and monitor things for long periods of time. We've got here a message come up from the company man that we're stopping drilling and they want to increase the bottom hole ECD by 0.5 ppg. They've asked us to calculate how much surface back pressure you'll have to put on to do that, and you need to answer it as a question. These questions reflect your score at the end, so if you get the question right you'll get points. If you don't, then you'll score no points and probably fail the simulation at the end. So we'll just go ahead and enter that, push OK. As you can see here the score's gone up. So we'll just go ahead and add that extra pressure on. We're looking to get to a target of 12.62 ppg on the bottom of the hole. So you can see here on the choke you've got a large increment which is 5%, you've then got a smaller increment which is 1, and then you've got the even smaller which is 0.1. So we're going to continue shutting and add some pressure onto the well. You can see there the pressures start to rise. You'll be able to see here that as you're adding pressure and compressing that fluid into the well bore, you see a drop in flow out. So there we are, we've got the 12.62 on, so the simulation knows we need to move on to the next step. We're seeing that we've got no losses at that ECD, so we want to open the chokes back up and then continue to drill ahead. So we'll go ahead and do that. Just going to open both chokes. You can see here as we're bleeding off that extra pressure, we're seeing an increased flow out from the well. So we're coming back down to our system friction pressure now. We'll let things stable out and then we'll go ahead and drill on. So it's nice and stable. So we'll carry on drilling. You can see these small graphs here, they're just for quick reference. So if the blue line's in the middle of the green line, then you know your delta flow is good and where it needs to be. If it starts to deviate, as you can see here, you can see that it's deviating. And this is just your set points on your downhole pressures. Your high is your high limit, your low is your low limit, and then you've got your target pressure, and then you've got your current pressure. So the current pressure is a green line, so you're meant to try and keep that in between the high and the low. On an open simulation, you can set that up here to as you want it, but for these simulations, we pre-configure them so they're all set in place for each different step if they need to be changed. So we're just continuing to drill ahead. Everything's looking stable at the minute. We'll add times that you can skip in the comments section of this video, so if you want to skip some of these dead periods, you can just check out the comments section and you'll see the time to skip to. These simulations, they're not all the same. Even if you do the same simulation again, the event will happen at a different depth rather than happen at the same depth or time as randomly generated when it will happen. So we're just continuing to monitor. Everything's looking stable. Here we can see flow out has increased, so we're going to put the trip tank on. We're going to just stop drilling there, and we're going to go back and we're going to start to apply surface back pressure. So we're basically taking a kick here. If we don't put pressure on the well here, we will the rate of increase will exponentially increase as we're losing hydrostatic pressure on the well. So we're just going to let it stable out there and see where it stables out at. So we've got a message come up by the company man, seen that we've regained overbalance by adding surface back pressure. We've been asked if we recorded the trip tank volume, which we did. The next step is going to be to add an additional 100 psi safety margin. So we need to put the influx volume in here. So the actual influx volume is recorded by the simulator, and then the number that you get here is compared against it, and that will then govern how much of a score you get compared to how close you are to the actual number. You can see there the score's increased. So we're going to go ahead and add an extra 100 psi surface back pressure. During these simulations, if you're ever confused about what the next step is, that'll always be in this box up here, what you need to be doing at the present time. Just done a bit of an overshoot there on adding that pressure. So we've added the safety margin. Next step, we're going to ramp down mud pump 1, and we're going to maintain the bottom hole ECD at 12.72 as a target pressure. We're going to be we've been told not to go below the ECD that we balanced the well at, which is 12.48. So if we go below that, the simulation will end straight away, and that will be an automatic fail. We've got another question here. So we need to just enter the ECD at the casing shoe. Okay, so we're ready to go ahead and start ramping down the pump. So as soon as we click this button to ramp down, this pump will start coming down at a steady pace because we've got the cyber ramp enabled. If we disable it, then it's all done manually. But we'll use the ramp and bring it down. So our targets here have been updated to give us a range to keep within. It's not as low as the automatic fail, it's higher than that. So we've got to try and keep in the middle here. How close we keep in the middle will be reflective on how much of a score that we get as this is happening. So you've got to have, if you go without these boundaries for too long, then your score will reflect that and you'll end up failing the simulation. So we're going to start ramping down now. So we're getting close to the pumps being off. So we've got to bear that in mind. So we don't keep ramping down. So there you go. We've done that pretty smoothly. We ramped down the pumps to 0 strokes a minute, and the rig is going to make a decision on the way forward. They want to call time. Simulation complete. So we just enter our name here. We'll just OK this. enter our name here. And you can see the result is a pass, and you can see how the kick was taken and then stopped, and the volume, and how the chokes were controlled. So that's that simulation. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you've got any comments, please feel free to contact us.